Pedro. You're going to behave, Pedro, if I put you... Pedro. Come on. You're going to behave, Pedro, if I put you... Pedro.
In fact, I'm looking at the synonyms for it on Webster, and it doesn't actually mention poppycock.
Poppycock. Doesn't
And
it?
so that's kind of interesting.
That's a load of drivel.
I'll have to bring that to the attention of the audience. In fact, I'm looking at the synonyms for it on Webster, and it doesn't actually mention poppycock.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now live on YouTube properly. I'm actually using a new bit of software now for the control thereof, and I'm using my iPad, which I have now set up specifically for TSFT to be able to control the stream, and it's really rather good.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
good.
Well, I have been using the iPad for a couple of weeks since we moved to Streamlabs OBS, which is the program we're using to do our stream. But I've now paid for a little app called Elgato. Now, Elgato, for about €400 or €500, something like that, you can buy a lovely little box, which I'd have to come on camera to show you this. Actually, I probably won't be able to show you with my background, but it gives you a box where you can physically press buttons.
Excellent.
And all of those buttons are programmable. But what I have is a software version of that, where I have all the same buttons that I would have had, or that my grandson, let's say, has on his Elgato Streamlabs button pushing thing, for which he paid £400 or £500 for. I now have it on my iPad. So there we are. Do we have any watchers?
Well, I'm out of my depth, I can tell you. Well, completely out of my depth.
Would be quite happy to give you a demonstration at some point in time. We have.
Yeah, we'll have to get onto that. That's a good idea.
No, we had two.
I'm
We had some viewers
one of my
earlier, but they seem to have
one of the
vanished.
things I strive to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the things I strive to do is not learn any more software. I'm doing my best to get through to the end of my life without having to learn very many pieces of software. I have as many apps on my phone as any other person in Ireland. So I'm reluctant to delete them. But I try for about 2 minutes, innumerable apps. But, you know, I've decided I'm never learning GarageBand, for example.
Oh, I've tried GarageBand, and I've actually created some music in GarageBand. In fact, if you look at my Facebook yesterday, you'll see a posting of a little video that I did, and the music was prepared. I won't say composed, prepared in GarageBand. The music is not terribly good, but the video is quite good. It's my
Yeah, you can become a slave to all those apps, all right?
yeah. It was my first and only stop motion video. If you know what stop motion is. No, you don't? Well, you take a photograph.
Well, I do.
Ted, you take a photograph and then you move your object, and then you take another photograph, and then you move your object, so you take another photograph, and you have to do that 25 times for every second of video. And my video is about 1.5 minutes long, I think. So
Right.
you
Is
can
it like those little drawings that we used to do before, walking in the
similar,
forest and
similar.
stuff?
Yeah. Only you're actually moving physical things.
See what you mean. Mm.
So that's that. Now, have I got you right? I have. So if
Have you got Simon Sinek?
if I click on that, it should be Paul. Ted, I mean, and if I click on that, it should be Paul. And it is. Good. Paul, do be aware that when you bend over, we see a beautiful view of the top of your head.
Well, funny you should mention that. I made a New Year resolution that during 2020, I was only showing one angle of myself, my front side.
Yeah.
So I decided this year I'll introduce people to the top of the mountain.
Okay. Next thing, Paul.
There's a
okay. Yeah,
there's
that's
a place
fine.
for
That's absolutely fine. We'll live with that.
Anyway,
could you now tilt your computer screen, your laptop screen forward just a touch to put you a little bit
certainly
a little bit higher on the screen? Up. That's it. That's perfect. Right. Then you balance up, and Ted, you could do the same. You should be balancing up. I'm actually a little bit high. You should be balancing up with me, so that when you see, that's it. Our eyes should all be on about the same line. Right. So as soon as I click video off, I have to switch to 2 speakers.
Okay.
Which actually works a treat. So I shall say goodbye. And there we are. I love it. Right. I will now mute my microphone. If I remember which. That's the right one. But before I do that, I will give you a 3, 2, 1, I guess.
Okay.
And that's an interesting thing. How am I going to give you... I'm going to have to come on screen to give you... well, I'll do that to give you timings.
Oh, yes, you could always use the Toastmasters timing mechanism in which you do red, green.
Oh, yes, I will do exactly that. But
in fact, that is very handy because the red light gives us a signal of when we should finish the episode.
Exactly. I will do just that. And in fact, I will do it by just coming on screen with... I have to take the background off to do that. Okay.
I think it'd be very handy for us, Ted. I don't know what you think, but I'd be inclined to think that the green light is the starting point.
Okay.
And then, Moira, we just get an orange light and a red light.
Well, it'll be a flash like that.
Okay,
yeah?
That's good.
Okay?
A what?
A flash like that.
Oh, God, I have to be sure I'm not blinking.
Well, you have to watch the screen. should always watch the screen, 'cause you should be seeing that you're not being, or no, you should be watching your camera, of course. But by watching the camera, you will, I hope, see the screen. Oh, that's interesting. I'd never seen that before.
But are you going to flash the three of them, Maura? The green, the yellow, and the red?
I think the green and the, oh yeah,
Yeah, that's good. So yeah.
that's good. That's good. So the as soon as the green comes on, you can start, Ted.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is, yeah, I need to think about it, how I do it, because I need to fiddle with what's being streamed as well. Okay, let's get ready and let's go. So, are you ready, Ted?
Yes, Maura, ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. And we look forward to your comments, any questions, feedback, and indeed we regard these as your evaluations. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. And we also publish the Public Speaking Weekly. And this is a roundup of links from the internet. It's all about Toastmasters, public speaking, confidence, leadership, etc. So look out for the newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined this week by the prolific, persuasive, passionate Paul O'Mahony.
Well, listeners, it's a delight to welcome you to the first show in 2021. And I'd like to wish you, on behalf of the whole team, a much better year than you had last year.
Well done, Paul. You stole a march on me there by wishing everybody a happy new year. So well done. We never let each other down from that point of view. And in actual fact, Paul, last year, from the point of view of Toastmasters, was an excellent year because some of us have been able to travel around the world, something we would not have done because we would not have had the time. But with Zoom, because of COVID, we've become multinationals.
Oh, absolutely, Ted. That's the best feature of 2020 as far as I'm concerned. However, I'm always one of these people who thinks of the people in hospital working, the
Yes.
people who are in nursing homes, and generally everybody else, including the state of the economy. And this is not my table topic on, do you think 2020 was a good year, Paul?
Yeah.
But it is nice to at least start off the year with acknowledging that it was, at the very best, a mixed year.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's no doubt that a pandemic has a huge impact on society and on the world. And one of the things that I feel about this particular one, and I take on board what you've said about the sorrow of people passing away and people suffering inside in hospitals. Just imagine what it was like in 1918 when they wouldn't have had the likes of internet or probably not even telephones, when 50 million people died in 1918 because of that pandemic. Now we have everything from the point of view of communication, how to communicate. We have television, we have Netflix. So we really have a lot to be thankful for as well.
And we have much better medicine.
And much better medicine, yeah. And even if you think about it, in less than 12 months, we now have the vaccination. So looking forward to happier times from that point of view as well.
Have you got a good old quotation, Ted, to start off the year by any chance?
I have a nice quotation, and this is one that I had seen, but when I saw it, the words were different. So I'm going to credit myself with this, and I think it's relevant from the time of year that we're in. So Darkness is merely the lack of light. You can be the light that defeats the darkness. So darkness is merely the lack of light. You can be the light that defeats the darkness. So what do you think of that, Paul?
Well, you've always lit up my life, Ted. Whenever I meet you, I find that my humor improves, my energy improves, and my imagination improves. You're a real light in a window.
Oh, thank you very much for that, Paul. I was saying you when I said you in a general sense, but I didn't mean me, to be quite honest. But I did change the words because originally what we had in there was a candle rather than light.
And whose quotation is that, Ted?
I forget now who actually had the quotation, Paul. I read it, but I didn't take it in
Well,
since I changed it myself.
you're a great man for the memory, Ted. I always think of you as a walking memory bank.
I'm not sure about that either, even though I read a lot of books on memory and stuff. All right, I don't know as the stuff sinking in, Paul.
I'd like to give you an evaluation, Ted, on what you've just said.
Okay.
I'd recommend that you improve your ability to accept a compliment.
Thank you very much, Paul. I certainly appreciate the compliment that you passed on to me.
So when I tell you that I think you're fantastic, I'm telling you that. What you're telling yourself isn't what we're talking about.
Excellent point and well made.
Okay, well, Ted, you know that this week I have a word for all the listeners. And some of them might be using it already, and some of them might not be familiar with the word. So let me tell you, Ted, that a lot of the stuff that people speak is drivel. D-R-I-V-E-L, drivel. Now that's an insulting word to use if you were going to do an evaluation of a speaker in Toastmasters. Somebody has given a speech and you are their evaluator. If you were to say, I want to thank the speaker for having shown us the ability, outstanding ability to speak a lot of drivel. On the other hand, if you're in the middle of a humorous speech, much longer, well, a humorous speech in a contest, drivel rhymes with swivel. And, you know, rhyme works very well. But let me tell you that this word drivel, it means to speak in a way that is silly, really, and absurd, and contrary to good sense. So when somebody speaks a load of stuff that's absurd, a load of stuff that is contrary to sense, it's a fair point for you to regard them as speaking drivel. However, Ted, I have never, as I recall it, found a word which has better synonyms than drivel. I bet you've used some of these words before. Have you ever said that somebody is speaking balderdash?
I have used that word, all right, yes.
So there's a good one. And I'd recommend that the word balderdash be used more so than drivel, but they could be used together. Now, have you ever heard of the word baloney?
Oh, I have, yes.
Well, next time you introduce me, you could say, I'm Paul Mahoney Baloney. Paul Baloney Mahoney.
Certainly rhymes.
But here's one for you, Ted. To speak a lot of blarney. Now there's one. Now we all know that you can't win the World Championship of Public Speaking without having visited Blarney and kissed the Blarney Stone. Absolutely impossible. We of course know that every previous winner of the International Speech Contest has been to Blarney. You've usually interviewed them when they've come to Blarney, isn't that right?
That's true. Yes, that's true.
So there's another word, Ted, fiddle faddle. Have you ever come across that one?
Never heard that one. No, are you sure you're not actually making that up yourself?
No, there we are. If Moira was here, she would confirm fiddle faddle.
Probably.
What about Hocus pocus.
I think I've heard hocus pocus. All right, it's got something to do with magic, has it? Or is that drivel?
Well, it's drivel, really, I can tell you as well. And what about clad trap?
No, I never heard that. I heard of
Or
rat traps. All right.
codswallop. Codswallop. Now, look,
I've heard of codswallop. Yeah, you're right about the synonyms, I think.
what do you think? Aren't they rich?
They're lovely. They are actually. Yeah.
There's a whole load of words. Now, I mean, in usual language in Cork anyway, you say that's a load of bull.
Yes.
You might add something to it, but to say that something is a load of bull, that is also bunkum.
Bunkum. And codswallop, does that mean that the fella would give you a slap of a cod? Or what? Wet fish across the face, like?
There will be people listening to this whose primary reason for their membership of Toastmasters is for them to improve their fluency in the use of the English language. So we better explain that codswallop has nothing to do with being hit a wallop with a cod.
Okay.
I'd say there's a real good origin to it. Codswallop is rubbish. Complete rubbish. That's codswallop. Unbelievable stuff. Ridiculous.
Okay. Exaggerated.
Not necessarily. We'll come on to exaggeration in later episodes this week.
Okay.
But codswallop is just basic rubbish. You're flanneling me, Ted. That's what you could have said to me when I was praising you, when I was perhaps some might say a little bit exaggerating your value, but of course I didn't mean it as an exaggeration. But that's a load of flannel, Paul.
Well done. And Paul, I think we should just remind our viewers and our listeners that in the third part today, you are going to be discussing the second half of the Toastmasters year, because we are now in the second half of the Toastmasters year. So we're at the top of the mountain and we're starting our descent. We're halfway there.
Thank you, Ted. Great episode.
Thanks, Paul.
Now our sound technician, our editor, our producer. Did you not see the red light?
I did. I did.
Right. Yeah, you were a little bit premature on your cutting. You could have gone on for another half minute.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no,
we thought the red light meant we had to stop.
Actually, you were. Okay.
So did I, Ted.
You were
I saw the red light coming on and
over.
I thought we had to stop. That's why I cut into your piece, Paul.
You were 6
I
seconds
didn't
over.
feel you
No,
cut
it's 1
into
minute.
me at all, to be honest.
You've got 1 minute on the red. And you
Well, once the red comes on, we have 1 minute. It's not 30 seconds. All right.
Now, let's be clear. That's the 1 minute for the correct 12-minute segment, okay?
Okay.
But if you want to go over, so long as it's
I know what you mean.
as it's more than 2 minutes absolute maximum.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
We know
absolute
that
maximum.
now from future reference. So.
Yeah. Because
well,
sometimes
Moritz is interesting, because the Simon Sinek piece, I think, is about 14 minutes.
Is it?
Well, that's okay.
As much as that.
Unless you want to cut some out, Mara.
Well, I've cut the beginning and the end music, but that's only
But Ted, we've
fiddle
often
faddle.
played bits of speeches that have been, top class. Now, if there's a bit that could be faded out at a point, like towards the end.
No, it's 10.5 minutes, Ted.
Or is it beg your pardon?
10 minutes, 40 seconds, so you're fine.
Right, it's all about confidence anyway.
Yeah, now let me do my background magic.
Ted, I got a small question for you then.
Carry on talking.
Yes.
Is this piece by Simon Sinek, was it produced after he did the very famous piece, which was about why?
I think it was probably before, Paul.
Really?
Yeah, I think this was before he did why. Question your why, I think so.
That's very interesting, because I only first came across Simon Sinek.
Start with why.
Yeah, no, that didn't mean that he could have been terribly famous for all I knew.
Well, I think he was, yeah.
I thought I didn't realize he was so well known, because he didn't do that why piece at a TEDx, did he?
Oh, he did. He did.
Was it a TEDx or a TED?
No, it was a TED Talk. It was a TED Talk.
All right. Well, he wouldn't have got invited on to.
Yeah.
Well, he
And
might.
self-confidence, this particular one, I think, is an excerpt from a TED Talk as well.
Oh,
The same one?
It sounded
No,
like. Do you
this
want,
one,
do
no,
you
the
want
one
to
how to
play it?
build self-confidence.
Do you want to play it?
Yes,
You want-
please. I'd love to hear it because
Okay,
it.
Will we
Well,
introduce
do
it?
the
So,
do the intro, Ted, and then we'll play
Okay.
the. Just make sure I'm in the right place. Okay, Ted, you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
welcome Toastmasters to segment 2 of this week's offering on the talk show for talkers, and where we have not got a live interview, and I might remind you all that we will have next week. What we are giving you this week is a speech or a talk given by Simon Sinek, and this is all how to build self-confidence, and it's got a lot to do with leadership, so it's particularly appropriate to Toastmasters.
Sorry, I forget I cut my microphone off while you're talking, so that you don't hear my dog barking. To be let in or to be let out, or to be let in and out at the same time. Because that's what he does. He's in and out and out and in and in and out and in and out and in and out. Drives me nuts.
Do we have anyone watching us live as a matter of interest?
Nope. Elizabeth
Okay.
seems to have deserted us.
No, she's going to be increasingly busy in the second half of the year, I'd say.
Yeah. But we always get views after the fact for some reason. Okay, so right, I'm going to press play and we can listen.
To Toastmasters.
Human beings, Homo sapiens, been on this planet 50,000 years-ish, right? And for 40 of those 50,000 years, literally 4/5 of our time on this planet, we lived in populations that were never larger than about 150 people. And we didn't all live on top of each other. I mean, they were communities. And the way we survived in these dangerous times was we took care of each other. You know, we contributed. Some people built things, some people hunted for things, some people made food, some people we took care of the kids, we made their families, and the wealth was distributed. You know, there's evidence they found in anthropological digs where the best cuts of meat, which you would think would go to all the alphas, because I'm the strongest, I get to choose the food first, you know, the best cuts of meat, which they can tell by the bones, are actually distributed amongst the tribe. In other words, the alphas, the leaders, yes, they were entitled to eat first. That's just the way we are. We're hierarchical animals. You know, nobody has a problem that somebody more senior, nobody has visceral contempt for the idea that somebody more senior in an organization makes more money than me. We're okay with our alphas getting better treatment. You know, nobody has a problem with celebrities, you know,
making more money and getting famous.
Getting a table in the restaurant that we have to wait for. Right. We're okay with it. You know, it's one of the reasons we all try and increase our standing in society by doing good, and hopefully you do it in a good way, not just getting internet famous, which is getting fame without any contribution to society. Different subject.
Right.
But it was shared hardships, shared sacrifice for the good of each other. That doesn't mean there wasn't ego and selfishness, of course. But at the end of the day, we needed each other.
Yeah.
And then about 10 or 12,000 years ago, when we started farming, we didn't need to travel anymore. We could stay put. And we could also sustain much larger populations.
The philosophers,
Like we had the resources for that, and we were okay with it, and it's a good thing, because look at the advancements in modern society in the past 10,000 years. Simply because you didn't have to go toil the field. You could actually go invent something.
You could innovate.
You could innovate, right? So it's a good thing, but scale breaks things for human beings.
Yeah.
You know, we were not naturally made for living in large populations. And so the way it works best is when we organize into smaller groups, which is why hierarchy matters, which is why leadership training matters. So you asked about, is the top person responsible? No, the top person is responsible for taking care of the people in their direct responsibility and ensuring that they are charged with and incentivized to take care of the people with their direct responsibility, who are charged with and incentivized to take care of the people in their direct responsibility, and the people on the front lines who are actually doing all the work feel taken care of and are happy to contribute. Yeah. There's a Marine that I know, who's a Marine general, who says the way he can judge the quality of a lieutenant is he listens to how the troops talk about their lieutenant. So
when he's not around.
Is it the lieutenant or is it our lieutenant? Ooh. They take possession of their leader. Wow. Right? That's our lieutenant. Right? Versus it's always the colonel. It's never our colonel. It's always the colonel because there's no relationship. It's too distant. Right? So as soon as we take possession, emotional possession of our leaders, there's a sign of devotion and mutual trust. But that relationship starts with how the leader leads. Yes, we have a responsibility to give back, but we call you leader not because you have the rank. We call you leader because you took the risk to trust first. We call you leader because you took the risk to build the relationship first. You took the risk to create the circle of safety first. You took the risk to go head first towards the vision first. That's why we call you leader, because you undertook an element of risk. You literally lead. You went first. Right? Nothing to do with rank.
Into the unknown first.
Into the unknown, whatever it is, right? And then we have a responsibility to go, I'm coming. I support. There's good followership too. You always do this to me whenever we get together. You get me, the best leaders are actually the best followers.
In what ways? What do you mean?
The best leaders never think that they're that the buck stops with them. They always believe that they're in service to something bigger than themselves. And even if that leader, the person in the leadership position, gets to the tippy top of whatever organization, they still feel that they're subordinate to something even bigger, right? So the Pope still thinks that he's in service to something bigger than him, right? A CEO of a visionary organization feels that they are still beholden to and following a vision bigger than them. So the best leaders actually are the best followers, even if they're at the highest levels of the organization. They're still in service. So I think it's ironic that we call it self-confidence, because I don't, for one, think it comes from the inside. I think our self-confidence comes from the outside. We are being misdirected by the name. When we say build your self-confidence, that's the instruction is saying go inside, look inside oneself. But I think that's a false direction. Children aren't born self-confident. Their confidence is built from their parents and their friends and their teachers, where they're rewarded when they do well and they're pushed when they fail, when they can do better. Simply, we know this, that simply telling kids that they're great all the time actually doesn't build self-confidence, actually does the total opposite. Right? And I, for one, I can tell you, in my own experience, my own self-confidence 100% comes from the relationships that I have. It's not some deep internal fortitude. A world-famous trapeze artist is not going to try a brand new death-defying act for the first time without a net. So it's the people in my life. It's when I do doubt myself that somebody says, you got this. When somebody says, I believe in you. When somebody says, no matter what happens, whether it succeeds or fails, I'm going to be by your side. That's when I have the confidence to do difficult things.
Wow.
Right? I don't have some natural battery that just
right.
That to me is bravado.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's self-confidence. Being a huge risk taker is not an indication of self-confidence to me. Jumping out of a plane and jumping out of a plane with a parachute are two different things, right?
Right.
To me, self-confidence is measured, and there should be a degree of of doubt. But I think true self-confidence, belief in oneself and belief in one's cause, I could not do the things that I'm doing, and I would not have the strength to have made the sacrifices that I've made, or continue to wake up on a daily basis to drive to spread this message, if I were alone. And so when we talk about building one's self-confidence, I think the mistake that we make is that we look inside. I think the reality is when we're trying to build our self-confidence, we should be looking to our friends, we should be nursing our relationships. When I'm looking to build my self-confidence, the question is, who around me do I need to take care of? The way we build our self-confidence is by helping somebody else build theirs.
Right.
It's an act of, we will build our confidence with an act of service. So I'll tell you a true story. So I did an experiment. I love doing experiments in my own life.
Yeah, me too.
I have mad thoughts. I'm like, well, let's try this one out. So I have a very dear friend who has stuck with me through thick and thin, who she is absolutely profoundly one of the reasons that I am who I am today, right? And I have my confidence in large part because of her, right? She's one of a small group of people who I look at and say, yep, good friend, right? Yeah. She was struggling, like seriously struggling. Oh, let me take a step back. We decided that we were gonna. She was struggling. She was going through some hard things in her life. Career wasn't going the way she wanted. Her personal relationship was struggling. There was a lot of rough.
She was lacking confidence.
There was a lot of rough.
Yeah.
She was lacking confidence.
Yeah.
And we would get together on a regular basis, and I would attempt to coach her, And she'd feel great for the hour after she left me, and then it would very quickly go back to normal. Right. And we'd get back together and I would coach her, and she felt great for the hour after she left me, and then it would go back to normal. And I can't say that there was some profound change being made in her life. So I had a harebrained idea. I went to her and I said, I need your help. I said, I'm struggling. I don't have a coach that I love and trust. You've known me for years. I trust you with everything. I feel unbelievably safe around you. Can you put together a program and can you coach me? I think you're good at it. And it wasn't reciprocal. It wasn't I'll coach you, you coach me. I said, it's just I need your help because I'm struggling. It was legit. It wasn't like I was just making stuff up.
You were stressed.
It was legit. I could do with the help, and I trusted her to help me. And something profound started to happen. Over the course of just a few weeks, it wasn't even a few months, but over the course of a few weeks, she started to gain way more confidence. Her career started to really move in a more positive direction. Her relationship firmed up. And the more that she was in service to me, the more that she grew herself.
How about that for timing? Do you want to comment?
Is that the end of it, Moira?
Yeah, that was it. And
It seemed to stop very abruptly, didn't it?
it's because I cut the music out at the end. It went into music. Yeah.
Right, okay. I thought he was going to go on and expand on that particular story he was talking about, how he helped that lady to kind of come back on track.
No, it's...
To me, the more that she grew herself.
I'd love to make a point.
That's the original.
All right, that's fair enough. How long did it take, Moira, there, if you don't mind me asking?
10 minutes, 38 seconds.
What? No, I mean the talk itself.
10 minutes, 38 seconds.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said 38 seconds.
No,
10 minutes. Okay, yeah, we'll have a chat about that. So, Paul, what do you think of that?
Hold on now. Hold on a second till Moira gives us the green light.
Okay, yeah, that's grand, yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Just hold on. I need to check something. Voiced. That's okay. I've checked. Right, Ted, 3, 2, 1, go.
So, Paul, what did you think of Simon Sinek and his chat with that friend of his?
I was very struck by one major point, and it's what I'll take away from listening to him, Ted. And it is the point he makes really about being in service to something. And it's that resonated very much with the way in which Toastmasters is run, the type of leadership which works in Toastmasters, because all leaders in Toastmasters are expected to be in service to other people. And it's also a well-known fact, great cliche there, it's a well-known fact that you grow in confidence in Toastmasters when you're in a leadership role. And that's what Sinek is saying. When you're in service to others, you grow. And I was very struck by that. What struck you?
Yeah, I think that was an interesting point you made. The thing that struck me was, there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders can be appointed people, such as the colonel, but those who lead can lead because of what they do and because they have this ability to gather a flock to come with them. Whereas the other kind of leadership is an appointed leadership. But those who lead, you have the likes of Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, people who never sought to take on leadership roles, but were natural leaders and had huge followings because of what they did, because of the values that they lived by themselves. So I thought that was good. And I loved the way he made the point, actually, to make the point about when he said the Pope. The Pope is a leader, but the Pope believes that he is a servant leader, that there is a higher force that he is serving. And I think that is a nice definition of a leader. You get some leaders, when they're told that they're the actual leaders, they want to be out in front and leading the parade, where in actual fact, the best of leaders lead from behind.
Ted, you're a leader in Toastmasters. You're on a club committee, you're on the division, you're the assistant division director. Who do you serve?
Oh, I serve all the members in the clubs and in my own club.
And what difference has it made to you to serve them?
Oh yeah, it certainly helps my self-confidence. I would much prefer to feel that I'm helping people rather than helping myself from that aspect of leadership.
Then I think you are a fit person to be a leader in Toastmasters International.
Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate that. And that brings us to the end of this particular segment. And in segment 3, we are going to have Paul leading us down for the next 6 months from the mountain he has just scaled.
Now, folks, when you see the rolling eyes, you should have finished.
Okay.
You went on. I mean, I said you could have 2 minutes, and you went on for
right.
about 4.
Well, if you want to cut any piece of that there, Moira, you can.
Nearly 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'd rather not cut, Ted, because cutting takes a long time, because you have to listen and re-listen and make sure that you're not cutting out, because sometimes the following conversation refers back to the previous conversation which you just cut. And therefore, I see what you mean. It can get very complex.
Well, that's a good tip now with regards to rolling eyes. I hope now once we see the rolling eyes the next time, we'll snap it up straight away.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So, right, Paul. No, sorry. Just wait a minute. I've got to.
I'll introduce Paul now, Moira.
Yeah. Of course. You did miss, Ted, actually, at the beginning, saying what was going to happen in the 3 segments, or the 4 segments. 3 segments.
I did, but I flagged it in the last one when I said
about flagged it in the last one, yeah. Yeah, but normally we do that in the first segment.
I did, you're right there, actually,
after the intro, or we have been doing, let's say. Normally is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think what happened there, we were having a conversation about the lights and things, and when I saw the lights, the red light that time, I stopped too fast.
Yeah, but what I mean is that normally we flag what's happening in all three segments at the
Yes.
beginning, and then at the end of each segment we flag the next one.
Okay, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have that right.
So at
right
the
next
beginning we
week, so-
say in part one, in part two we're having
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good idea not to say we don't have an interview,
Okay.
right? Because very often we don't have an interview. More often than not, we don't have an interview. So just say that in part two we will have Simon Sinek. In part three, Paul's going to talk about this. In part four, we'll be talking about the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in actual
And
fact,
then-
had I had enough time to listen to Simon Sinek before we came on, I would have realised that it was an interview anyway. It could have been
Well,
Paul
indeed,
or
I knew that from just listening to
You
the
know?
first 10 seconds, Ted, because there was
Yeah, yeah.
obviously an interviewer there.
Yeah, somebody in the room with him, all right.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought it was me for a while.
Are we ready?
No,
Yes.
nearly.
When Mara gives us
Nearly.
3 to 1.
Just give me, I have things to do in the background.
Okay.
Ted, in the meanwhile, then, Ted, I want to ask you to spell, because you're a pretty good speller, aren't you?
Yeah, I would fancy
Okay.
myself as a speller.
Spell hairbrain.
Hairbrain.
Incorrect.
Really?
Herebrain.
Hairbrain? Hairbrained?
I was shocked because I watched
Hairbrain.
the
Oh,
episode
H-A-R-E.
with subtitles, you see, so
H-A-R-E.
it's H-A-R-E. Now,
Hairbrained.
I did not know that,
No, nor I.
Hare. Right.
I would
so I
have said I
thought
would
you'd
have
like
said the
to
same
know
as Ted.
that,
Yeah. Interesting.
since all three of us would have got that spelling wrong.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So has it got something to do with the wild animal?
I have absolutely no idea.
Is there something about the March hare there?
I don't know, but Moira, are you ready?
Yeah, I was just looking up hairbrained on the on
Okay,
internet.
when Moira is ready. But I just slipped that in.
Mara's a little bit harebrained today, Paul.
Well,
'Cause
she's slipping into her new role, you see, hairbrained wise or scatty.
All right.
What was the what
Was
the
that
word?
roll or robe?
Robe? I don't know, something like that.
I think you said roll, Mara.
Did I?
I'm just pulling your leg.
I am in a role as well as a robe, and but anyway, I'm talking a load of drivel, so.
Touche.
I would call it muttering a load of drivel.
Okay, muttering will do fine, yeah. Okay, Ted, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends, to one of the most listened segments of this show over the recent past. We're going to have Mr. Paul O'Man, he's going to be speaking to us about the second half of the year. We've already put down 6 months, and when I say year, I'm speaking about the Toastmasters year, because we start on the 1st of July and we run to the 30th of June. So we're exactly at halfway. So Paul now is beginning to lead us back down the mountain, because Paul O'Mahony, as well as being a presenter on the talk show for Talkers, is also the Division A director. So Paul, take it away.
Well, Ted, I felt inclined to ask you to carry on, since you have already brought to the attention of the audience that this episode is being recorded at the start of January, which is the 6 months, the second 6 months of the year. Looking back on the year so far, not just in District 71, but looking at it globally, the biggest challenge from the point of view of having distinguished clubs is the number of people who have not renewed their membership. So it's a fantastically big challenge to expand the membership in the second half of the year so that clubs can become distinguished. And it's more than that, because as We know well the Distinguished Club program is a set of measurements, but they do in effect measure things that people are concerned about anyway. So a club that has lost, for example, half its membership or a quarter of its membership, it's likely that the members in the club will feel a bit deflated. And it's a heck of a job to build up and get more members. So all clubs that have got a bit of life about them, let's looking forward into the second half of the year, are actively seeking new members. Actively seeking new members in a context which is new, in a context where the meetings are online. So to actively seek members when the club is meeting online is a new challenge, one that no clubs have got a lot of experience of doing. And there's a lot of learning to go on during this year, which hopefully will have long-term benefits for the organization, whatever happens in the future. So I've got a few words I'd like to say about the second half of the year. And there are so many things that I could talk about, like speech contests, like club officer training, like education, all of those things. But in my mind, they dwarf in comparison with the issue about getting more enthusiastic members. So let's look at that. The biggest attractor of new members happens when somebody comes to a club and says to themselves, wow, these people are really impressive. I would love to have more of the company of these people. These are my kind of people. And you know what? I really would like to see more of them. And you know, I finally found the group of people who are right for me. And I'm going to stop looking round for other groups of people to attach myself to. This is my future club. This club is irresistible. So how do you make your club irresistible? Obviously, only to certain people. You can't make your club irresistible to everybody, because in order to make your club attractive to everybody, you're going to go for a lowest common denominator. If you're trying to attract into your club people who have very low confidence, who are petrified of communicating to groups of people, whether it's on a stage or off a stage, your club wants to be of a certain standard. If your club is at too high a standard, what are the chances that a person who's petrified is going to join? No. If you're trying to attract people who are really good already, but want to power ahead and become more influential as speakers in their organization, do more powerful presentations to their staff, to their managers, to their directors, or to their community groups, you need to be very impressive. You need to have the person saying, these people are better than me, and these are the people I can learn from. So the key thing is that the club needs to know, who is it trying to attract? That's a challenge that many club leaders haven't thought through fully enough. That's my assertion. I cannot prove it, but the clubs that have got a clear idea about who they're trying to attract and why they're trying to attract that are at least in a position where they can tweak their meetings. For example, if you're trying to attract professional people who are serious about career development, you better have a really good welcome to your meeting. You would want to be meeting on time. You'd want to be starting on time. You'd want to have all the roles filled in advance. You'd want to be no messing. You'd want to be saying, hey, these people are good. You wouldn't have to be the world's greatest speakers, but everything around the meeting, everything, including how you publicize the meeting, how easy it is for them to get into the meeting. You want to get all of those things right. And when I say all of those things right, you're as strong as your weakest link. If, on the other hand, you want to attract people who are there for a nice social chat and want to have a bit of company and would like that, then actually to have a meeting that isn't too structured, that is a bit loose around the edges, in which people sometimes interrupt the speaker, in which an odd dog or two barks in the background, that may actually attract some people. They may say, look, these people aren't too tight, too regimented for me. A club, for example, that recites at the beginning of every meeting the Toastmasters promise and means it, could well attract people who've got a high ethical standards, high value driven people who really do want to only mix with people who are people of integrity. They might be suspicious of live in a world where they don't think people are. So it's all about getting really top class meetings. When you have top class meetings, and you have visitors to the club, let us assume that you've got a very good vice president for public relations, or a very strong public relations team doing public relations and marketing, but also that all the members are bringing friends and associates up there. So you're out there in the world spreading knowledge to people that your club exists, when it meets, how easy it is to get there. So you're getting visitors. How many times have you gone to a club that hasn't been your club, and you've been quite impressed, and you haven't been asked if you'd like to join? How many times have you gone to a meeting where the whole feeling is that, yes, these people are running this meeting, and it's a very well run meeting, but they're all part of a clique. They all know each other very well. Great. On the other hand, have any of you ever gone to a club where the whole ethos, as soon as you get to the club, you're welcomed? It's obvious to you that this is a club which is actively seeking new members. They speak up the club. They give you the feeling that there's a bit of excitement here, and certainly a bit of talent. And perhaps at the meeting, they're welcoming their new members from last week or the week before, or there's a bit of a report about, hey, it's great news, we've got 3 more members in the last 3 months. We're really very keen to keep up this, guys. And then you have somebody sending you a private message in the chat. We'd love you to come back again, and we'd love you to join. We think you'd be a great addition to this club. And our membership person will be sending you an email tomorrow encouraging you to join. And especially if the club has a bit of a character and it's not just generic. Give you a little example. There's a new club being set up at the moment. It has about 15 founder members, just aiming to charter, and it's called Toastmasters for Golf. Toastmasters for Golf, a unique club. Nowhere else in the world is there a club in which all of the ethos of the club is that all the speeches, the table topics, all the people in the club all the members of the club are enthusiastic about one thing. Now, show me a golfer who doesn't want to talk about golf. Show me a golfer who doesn't want to tell stories about how they got on, how they sank a 40-foot putt yesterday. Fantastic table topics. Fantastic stuff about the history of golf. Pathways project where you have to do research. Who was Bobby Locke? Forgive me, I know I'm not talking to an audience chosen in golf, but there's an example of a club that has an absolutely USP. USP is unique selling point. So clubs that are aware of what their own unique selling point is have got a better chance of getting new members. So there we have it, folks. The second half of the year is a drive in an intelligent way to get new members. And the big tip I'll give you to take away, focus on getting dual members. We'll have more to say about dual members in the future, but they're the key to getting more members in your club quickly. That's all I have to say for this episode. Just have a great second half of the year.
Well done, Paul, and thank you for that. And we'll be back with you again tomorrow.
I was waiting for a with, Ted.
Ted, when I'm introducing...
I was
Sorry,
waiting
Moira?
for, we'll be back with you tomorrow with it was hanging.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to say that now when they introduce him.
Well,
This-
yeah, but it's an...
This is our resident grammarian, Ted. We're going
Yeah,
we're going to be shipshape and
I want you to say we'll be back with you tomorrow
what's
when
the phrase,
we will
Moira?
when we
Shipshape
will,
and what?
Bristol,
Shipshape
Bristol
and,
fashion. Bristol fashion. Have we got a big delay on the line today? Because I seem to be talking over you a lot or not being heard.
Shipshape and Bristol fashion.
That's what I've just said. Can you not hear me?
Right, not just because your photograph isn't.
Are you hearing me, Ted? Paul?
We can hear you all right, but since we can't see your lips moving, we're not sure what to talk or not talk.
You don't need to see my lips moving, for God's sake.
Ted, that's a very good point you make. It just shows up how body language
Yeah.
signals.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah. Ted, did you
It
get my
really-
message? Don't turn your camera off when you leave, because that immediately just takes you out of the of my picture.
Oh,
I,
beg your pardon.
I
Yeah,
lose you
thought I had
completely.
to-
No, don't, because I lose you completely. And
Right,
as-
because when I turn off the camera, at least the photograph comes on. But if I don't turn off the camera, you see me bolting out the door.
that doesn't matter. Nobody else does,
Okay.
because we're looking at
Yeah.
Paul. We're seeing Paul.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I
But when-
learned from that then, Ted, because I certainly would have done the same thing as you. So now I'll be
Yeah.
forewarned.
Yeah.
Forewarned is what?
Is forearmed.
Forewarned is
Is
forearmed.
forearmed. You know, forearms. Yeah. Thank you, Ted.
FOURARM.
Right, Ted. Now let's get back to the serious business, please.
Okay.
Ted, would you like to rephrase your last sentence, and add on what we're actually going to be talking about in the next
Okay.
segment? Now, to make it less Paul-centric, because it's going to sound like the Paul podcast, don't just say Paul will be talking about, say we will be talking about.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it
okay.
is going to be Paul, but we have to live with the actuality of it,
Okay.
if you take my meaning. So what did we say at the end?
I do.
Let's just listen to what...
This episode, just have a great second half of the year.
not close enough.
Paul, and thank you for that. And we'll be back with you again tomorrow.
Do you see what I mean, Ted?
And we'll be looking
Wait, whoa,
at
whoa,
Paul
whoa, whoa,
and
whoa,
thank
whoa,
you
whoa,
for that.
whoa,
And
whoa.
we'll be back with you again tomorrow.
You can't just talk, Ted. You've got to wait for me to count you in, because if I'm playing, I can't record. Okay?
Yeah, but you were saying, whoa. This is a recording there, Mara.
No, I'm saying, whoa. Stop talking, because...
Hey guys, let's agree. No, let's agree that the green light means speak.
Okay.
And none of us will speak until we get a green light.
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to do that.
Even I
because-
can follow that.
Yeah, but that just causes me... Every time I put me on screen, I have to change the stream.
Okay,
Right.
Moira, what should we do?
I will count you in, 3, 2, 1, as always.
Okay.
And I'm now going to hide myself again. Okay. I then have to switch from 3 speakers to 2 speakers to see when I hide myself. Right. Okay, Paul, Ted, you're going to reintroduce or re-outro, yeah? 3, 2,
Okay.
1, go.
And we'll be back with you tomorrow, where we will be discussing the effectiveness of exaggerating certain types of speeches.
Okay, that's absolutely fine, Ted. Just what I wanted.
I thought that was your best contribution, Ted, to the show this week.
Thanks very much.
I think that's enough sarcasm for today. Paste. Reminder. Oh, go away. Right. That's better. Okay, Ted, you ready to intro? 3, 2, 1, go.
And welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends, to the final episode of this week's offering of the Talk Show for Talkers. And Paul is going to look at how effective it is to exaggerate during certain types of speeches.
Listeners, do you remember being told as a child, don't exaggerate? Have you ever been told as an adult, don't catastrophize? In other words, have you ever been told to tone down the extremeness of what you're saying? I'd say you have. I really would. Ted, in a single word, were you ever told that? Ted is muted now, so that question has really stumped him.
Yes.
But we won't worry about that now. We'll just move on. Yeah, my theory is, and I ask you to consider this proposition. If you're trained as a young person not to exaggerate and to keep things very accurate, what effect is that going to have on you as an adult when you're practicing speech? Let's start off with there are certain times when it's very unwise to exaggerate in Toastmasters. Everybody who does a path in Toastmasters has a research topic to do at level 1. They're meant to take a topic they know nothing about, research it, and present between 5 and 7 minutes of a speech about it. If you want to have authority, and this particular project is particularly designed to give you the experience of practicing speaking with authority, you don't exaggerate. For example, you don't say 10,000 people are in hospital in Ireland today. No, you quote the exact number of people in hospital today. You have a source for you. So what I want to say now is to say there are certain situations, on the other hand, where it is a splendid thing to do to exaggerate. In terms of rhetorical devices, it's sometimes called hyperbole. It's also something that I discovered when at 2 particular online meetings recently, where I was the grammarian, 2 different clubs. And in addition to having a word of the day, both of those clubs had a rhetorical device of the day. So the rhetorical device that I chose was exaggeration. In fact, it was hyperbole at the first one. I gave an example of it. And in the entire meeting, there were about 3 exaggerations in an hour and a half. It really wasn't easy for people to exaggerate. Lots of other, if you were to say, use questions during the meeting, much easier. So for some reason, it's counter emotional, I'll call it. On the other hand, when I went into the room, everybody was 8 feet tall and built like elephants. They were straight from the gym. Their muscles were wider than a gorilla's arm. This is a terrific way of making a point. In Irish literature, actually, no, let's talk about English literature. Let's talk about Lancelot. Lancelot was able to slay huge numbers of people. Cuchulainn was able to slay huge numbers of people, was able to beat 1,000 warriors back. Do any of you believe that he actually was capable? No, he wasn't. Achilles was able to kill a whole army. And the reason this form of speech works is that it's much more vivid. And the effect you have on somebody's memory by being vivid is very different from the effect you have when you're being measured and precise. Being vivid is exciting. Being accurate is intellectually sound, absolutely speaking with integrity. But when you exaggerate, not in a big way, when you fill the stage or the room or the Zoom with an exaggeration, you're taking people's imagination on a journey. And it's that journey that the audience experiences, which elevates your speech out of the ordinary. I'll tell you a few things not to do. Don't say, I was very happy with the way in which you spoke. Say, I was blown away. It was a thunderous speech. If you want to say to somebody, while you were speaking, you were the biggest person in this room. You were like a mountain of sense. These are ways of exaggerating. There are people who you probably disapprove of who have used exaggeration in politics. I'm not going to name any names. You can name them yourself. Do you recall any politicians in your lifetime exaggerating? And as a result of exaggerating, getting quite a lot of people on their side. So exaggeration can also split the room into those who are with you and those who are against you. And if you're primarily interested in persuading some of the audience that to follow you, exaggeration is a useful technique. So one can be used to persuade an audience. 2, it can be used to excite an audience. And 3, it can be used to hook the imagination of an audience. I can tell you now, as I'm recording this, Ted Malanphy has shrunk. He's the size of a knitting needle. He's absolutely minuscule. He's so overwhelmed by what I'm saying. What is that? That is outrageous understatement, exaggeration in the opposite direction. There's another technique. There are 2 ways of exaggerating. You can exaggerate so that you grow something, and you can exaggerate so that you shrink something. Both work. They were all little people as in Jonathan Swift's novel, Gulliver's Travels. They were no more than 3 inches tall as far as I was concerned, and I was the one on stilts. Tell me if that isn't going to create an impression. Now you could develop that into, I was a real arrogant person at the time when I used to think of other people like that. I've learned a little bit of humility, and now I am that little person surrounded by giants. Ted, this was to be a conversation, and I have rattled on. What do you say? Let me ask you, I'd like you to practice some exaggeration today. Just practice it. There's your table topic. Speak in an exaggerated way for 1 minute. Ted Melanphy, I give you the stage.
Well, you said that I reminded you of a knitting needle, or at least the width of a knitting needle, when in actual fact, I felt like Gulliver being pinned down because I was surrounded by little people. And I felt like the giant when you said I was a knitting needle. So I was using some of the hyperbole and the exaggeration or the embellishments that you were talking about. So I agree entirely with you, Paul, that when you use that type of language, what you do is you stretch your listener's imagination. You make it colorful, you make it rememberable or memorable instead of rememberable. But as somebody once said, they won't remember your name. They may not remember where exactly they met you, but they will certainly remember what you said and the way you said it, of course. So I thoroughly agree that as a rhetorical device, exaggeration is a wonderful way to make it memorable, the speech. And that's what makes speeches great.
And exaggerated praise for a speaker is much more memorable. So if you say to somebody as evaluator, I really liked that speech you did, Ted, or that was a very good speech. That's language uninclined to move anybody.
Yes.
If you were to say to somebody, that was a rocket of a speech, that is the most phenomenal speech I've ever heard you make, Ted.
Yes.
Now that is memorable. You could say to an audience, isn't this man the biggest person in the room? Have you, any of you, ever see him expand as much as he did on the topic today? That type of, even if said with a lot more quietly, like, the speaker has thrilled me so that I felt I was in heaven.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's lovely for the speaker to hear as well, because not alone are you exaggerating, but you're also complimenting.
Well, that's right, you know, and if, of course, you want to make recommendations, you can say to somebody, and you know, the way you did that had me falling down a well into a cesspool. And I wished that you could have given us a ladder to climb.
Yeah, that's a nice. I don't know whether that's a nice one or a terrible picture you just painted for us there. No, I feel like a crab trying to get out of the bucket. You know, you nearly get to the top and you slide all the way back down again.
Well, look, I think that's enough, Ted. We've heard enough from you. Your words have completely disemboweled my intellect.
That's a horrible way to be feeling disemboweled. So that's our final contribution for this week. We would, of course, we have to thank Moira for being our director and our producer. So it's goodbye from me, Ted Melanphy and Paul.
Cheerio, everybody.
See you next week. Bye.
Well done.
Well done, Moira. Well done, you too. Yeah. So I think we're after getting a couple of stepping stones for next week. Now we know what the eyes mean.
Yeah. But you
Yeah,
should.
we know
I
what
mean,
the
you've had
eyes-
the eyes for many, many weeks, Ted. So
We did, yeah,
many
but we
months.
used to be only laughing at them now, then. No, we know what they mean.
Oh, I see. Well, I thought it was clear what they meant from the word go. Anyway, not to worry.
Well done, that was good. Now, how do you feel about that? No more the way that went yourself?
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah.
Good.
Well, just as I say, the intro at the beginning, we need to get that.
Right.
Do you
Yeah,
want me?
give it-
Do you
give
want me
it-
to rephrase the your crib sheet for you?
No, no, no. I understand what you're talking about. That we give a flavour of what's coming in the
Yeah.
next 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. And you may have noticed, or maybe you haven't, but I've replied to Rachel saying, yeah, we'll
Yeah, I
talk
saw.
to her next week,
I saw.
because for some her work schedule was rescheduled at the last minute.
Yep.
And in actual fact, that might give me an opportunity, and I'll ask for both of you for your opinions on this. This might give us an opportunity. What about if I was to get on to Rachel and say, I'm going to interview you on the second part of the show,
Mhm.
and it will basically be about her Toastmaster journey and the 5 questions.
Mhm.
But what about if I was to suggest to her that on the 4th part of the show, if she can stay with us that long,
Mhm.
if she's going to be with us from the start of the show,
Mhm.
what about if we asked her to present the 4th part with some tips and tricks from her as a VPPR to other VPPRs within the district?
Go for it.
What do you think?
Superb, Ted. Superb. Great
can
I
always-
think
idea.
that might be an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you can always ask, and she can always say no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She's a. I would give her. Yeah. Tell her in advance that that's what you're going to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
I will. I'll suggest
Obviously.
it to her. I'll give her. I'll offer that to her if she wants to do that, because
Yeah.
I was thinking that might, like, what reminded me of this here was listening to you, Paul, talking about the second part of the year and what we should be trying to accomplish. And you're so right that one of the things that all districts will be looking at is how to improve their membership, because the membership is falling because of COVID. But it's people like Rachel who's in touch with what's happening. Maybe they have some great tips and tricks for getting people into the meeting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah.
I actually think, Ted, it would be good to say to her, we'd love you to do a second segment, so that she knows, that it isn't just if you like to do it. We'd love her to do it.
Yeah. Good thinking. That's what I'll do. I'll send off an email to her after. In fact, what I might do is I might ring her later on this evening.
Well, that's your personal relationship. It obviously depends upon how close you are to each other. And
Well, I've only met her the same way that you met her.
oh, don't mind me being saucy.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to say cheerio, because I got a bit of time. I need to do some things.
Okay.
I got to get ready for golf. I hope you're going to come, Ted. I hope you can spare the time at 6:30 for the golf.
I have something else on. I completely forgot about that. And listen, apologies about last night. I was sitting down having my dinner when I remembered it.
Look, we had a fantastic meeting. It was all Area 23, all their area director and 2 assistant directors.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
And we decided what was going to happen in the entire division.
Right. Okay.
And I'm going to send you, actually, it was a very nice meeting, I have to say, but they're a terrific threesome,
Yeah, fantastic team. Yeah.
Paul, just a little comment
so
here.
they were the only people there. It was just them and me.
Right.
Paul, just a little.
So, but you'll be getting that one.
Just a little comment, Paul. Your picture has gone very pixelated, so your bandwidth has obviously got an issue. But also, if I can mention, your sound with your new microphone is actually now a lot louder than Ted's. So I don't know if you have any ability to lower your volume just slightly, because that saves me the issue of having to balance you up in post.
Well, if I can lower my volume via the laptop, that would please me a lot. I can probably go into...
I think you can. Well, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know
Well, if
Windows.
you're on the laptop, you can increase or decrease the volume.
No, and you can actually do it in Zoom. If
Yeah,
you
Moira, I'm
go
going to
into
do
your
it now.
go
This will
into your
tell you.
audio settings in Zoom.
Moira, what do I sound like now? No, wait a minute. That
Well,
hasn't changed anything.
It's a matter of
That
how you
changes-
balance up with Ted, because
that
your sound is
changes
your
you.
sound is superb compared with what it used to
Hold
be.
on. I want to tell you that what you're saying is
Oh,
wrong.
no, that's a bit soft now.
Right, now I can tell you,
Let
you'll
me-
be interested in this. I was shouting.
Were
Yeah,
you?
you
Okay, but
decreased the volume,
did-
is it?
Yeah, you did decrease a long way. Just hold on, because I need to. Why aren't I monitoring? I should be monitoring. Ging, ging,
I
ging,
have
ging.
got,
Audio.
you know what?
Here we go. Yeah.
I have clicked the automatically adjust microphone volume.
Okay, that's good.
And that has
Ted, will you speak as well?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're about the same now.
About the same now. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
if I speak with how vivacious I usually am, is that a bit high?
It's a little bit higher than Ted, but that's you being vivacious. Don't worry, if you put it on auto, you should be absolutely fine.
That's very handy. As you rightly say, I'm not used to this microphone. I keep forgetting, you know, and also I am that little bit deaf, so
Indeed.
I'm loud at the best of times.
Indeed. Let's say goodbye to YouTube.
Actually, Moira,
Yeah.
a small point. After the end of the show,
Yeah.
I'm inclined to forget that I'm still on YouTube.
Sure.
And that means that I could easily say something to you or to Ted that I would really regret saying. I didn't say anything today. But for example, I think I said that the only area that was represented at the Division Council was Area 23.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, first of all, if I made a mistake and it was really Area 11, I'd be a bit embarrassed. And secondly, I don't really want the whole world to know that we had a division meeting and only one area turned up.
well, okay. Well, we're still streaming, so.
Well, I don't mind.
Now
This
turned
is
them
being
all over again.
This is being authentic,
this is
but
being
in
authentic.
future we'll
Yeah.
we can turn off.
We'll say goodbye to YouTube now, and